No matter how thick the external perimeter defenses are, a sufficiently motivated adversary will eventually breach a network. When the alarms trigger, the focus shifts to a high-stakes engineering problem. The total impact of the event depends on whether a team can identify the vector and isolate the spread before the attacker achieves their primary objective. Managing that outcome requires the synchronization of two distinct disciplines: incident response and digital forensics. On one side, digital forensics provides the rigorous extraction of empirical digital artifacts, the exact bytes, timestamps, and executables left behind by an attacker. On the other side, incident response applies organizational compliance and governance rules, like Saudi Arabia's NCA ECC framework, to dictate the enterprise's reaction to those artifacts. To see how these two sides interact, we have to deconstruct an attack backward, starting from the immediate aftermath of the initial detection. Our objective is to take highly granular technical data from a single compromised machine and push it up the chain of command to enforce an enterprise-wide zero-trust architecture. This continuous feedback loop, integrating microscopic digital evidence with macroscopic governance, is the foundation of modern cyber defense. In a security operations center, the first few minutes of a breach are defined by the need for immediate classification. To manage the event, SOC analysts refer to formalized compliance frameworks rather than improvising a response. This NCA ECC classification matrix categorizes threats by business impact, evaluating disruption to services and reputation. Major attacks requiring business continuity are classified as critical, or مرتفع جداً, triggering a strict protocol, immediate response, and a 2-hour resolution limit. This classification dictates everything that follows. It determines how many resources are assigned, which network segments are isolated, and who holds the decision-making authority. It also sets the legal threshold. If the incident crosses this severity line, the framework mandates immediate escalation to external regulatory bodies. By routing the initial chaos through this matrix, the SOC translates a live breach into a predictable, engineered timeline. While the triage team secures the network boundaries, the digital forensics process begins on the compromised systems. Investigators must maintain a strict chain of custody. Every artifact extracted must be rigorously documented to preserve its integrity for both legal and operational use. Analysts map findings against the 7-stage cyber kill chain. Forensic evidence pinpoints exactly where the adversary sits on this chain. Investigators focus specifically on the delivery and installation phases, the exact moments malicious code successfully breached the local system. Finding the root cause requires investigators to interrogate the local system logs on the compromised machine. This interface shows the structure of a local SQLite database, pulled from the App Data Chrome directory. Correlating data across the downloads and URLs tables allows investigators to reconstruct a chronological map of user activity just before the infection. The critical data points here are the timestamps, recorded as raw numerical epoch integers, representing elapsed seconds since a fixed reference date. Analysts convert these into human-readable chronologies to reveal the exact sequence of events. Decoding this timestamp allows the forensics team to pinpoint the precise moment of delivery, identifying the specific URL acting as the injection vector. Once forensics isolates that injection vector, the intelligence is passed back to the operational team to execute containment. The extracted artifacts dictate exactly which compensating controls and patches must be deployed across the network to stop the spread. Using the malicious URLs found in the database, responders update firewall routing rules to sever the attacker's connection. This granular lockdown is the core of zero-trust architecture, designed to halt lateral movement. Previous security models relied on a hardened perimeter, allowing attackers to move freely internally once breached. Zero Trust, however, assumes the network is perpetually hostile, and that internal components are already compromised. Under this model, every single node, user, and device requires continuous multi-factor verification and granular permission gating before being allowed to communicate. Granular forensic evidence is the catalyst that forces a vulnerable implicit trust network into a hardened zero-trust posture. Many organizations treat system restoration as the final step of the process, but the response continues long after the servers are back online. National compliance layers, including the NIST 800-171 and NCA ECC frameworks, mandate a formalized review period. These frameworks require the active implementation of a lessons learned workflow to close out the incident. This 5-step process is designed to ensure the organization identifies and stores all recommendations that can improve future security. Step 1 is to identify and collect all relevant forensic comments, database logs, and recommendations generated during the breach. Steps 2 and 3 require documenting these findings with key stakeholders and analyzing them for future systemic application. Steps 4 and 5 dictate that this documentation is stored in a secure repository and retrieved to expedite response times for subsequent incidents. This creates a permanent feedback mechanism. A technical discovery, like a bypassed access protocol, becomes a permanent structural patch in the overarching NCA ECC governance policy. Executing this phase requires the involvement of the executive team to authorize broad changes and remove bureaucratic obstacles. Weaving these granular technical discoveries into enterprise policy ensures that a single vulnerability, once exploited, never functions as an entry point again. The forensic autopsy provides the specific technical blueprint for the next layer of defense.